you support Trump, Brooklyn? I think
Yes,
that's
I
your name.
do.
All right, why do you support Trump?
Well, I mean, I support his immigration enforcement, and I also support the conflict that's happening in Iran. Now, I've been frequenting these lives lately. In fact, I've been on yours a couple of times, and you actually pretty straightforward and honest. So all of the conversations, no matter what we talk about, leads back to Trump being a sexual offender and a 3PDO, right? So
No,
if
it doesn't
that's the
have. It
case.
does, no, we don't have to talk about that. I mean, we can
No,
definitely. I
that's what
think
I'd like to talk about because this is what I'd like to know, and I'd like to get your viewpoint on it.
all
So,
right, of course. Can we talk about the first point that you brought up, immigration in Iran, and then we can talk about the sexual
well, it would
abuse?
you'd be a long conversation, but sure. So you're talking about the conflict in Iran?
Sure, we can talk about immigration. Your first point. What is he doing with immigration that you support?
Well, the idea that he's enforcing final deportation notices. So what
Do you
happens
support
is
his mass
that's
deportation policy?
well, it's not mass deportation. What I'm saying is that the 74% of the arrests, right, that ICE are making under Trump's administration, right, are for final deportation notices. So what happens is that these are illegals that have gotten their due process, right? You know what I mean? And they've been released back to the community. They're supposed to go on their own. They're supposed to leave the country. They don't do that. There was no detention, right? Or, through with Biden and and Obama, there was no detention in these
Right.
cases, right? So what happens
The
is
Yes,
only
there
that
issue
once
was.
the only issue here is according to DHS, only 5 to 7% of detainees have been violent criminals
right,
under
okay,
the
so
fiscal
no,
year
no,
of
so yeah, yeah,
2025. So that's
there's
very bad.
definitely a disparity between Trump's administration and Biden's and Obama's. So,
Yeah.
so there was about the same amount of deportations, right? What they weren't acting on was the final deportation notices, right? Now, there's been a downswing on people that actually been convicted of crimes, which I find strange, right? But
Mhm.
the 74% of the million or so deportations are for final deportation notices. So what happens is that people the for lack of a better term, the illegals, right? I mean, what they did was they got the process and then they just didn't follow through on the court order.
Right. Yeah. Give me 10 seconds. There's 100 people in here. Make sure to hit that follow button if you haven't already. Let's get to 10,000 likes. Power tap for the next 30 seconds. Make sure to show some love to Gavin. We have Brooklyn over here. If you're new to hit that subscribe, hit that thumbs up. But yeah. So again, the only issue here is I would just disagree with deporting people who haven't committed any violent crime or bad crime, right? So I disagreed when Obama did this. I know he did do this. I disagreed when Biden did this. Obviously, Donald Trump is doing this at a greater extent, which is why I don't want to support his immigration policy. I'm a progressive Democrat. I'm a democratic socialist, so I support mass amnesty as long as you haven't committed any violent crime or bad crime, such as like murder or theft, to the point where like the theft is gonna like involve someone else and harm them, right? I don't care if someone steals like a Snicker bar; they shouldn't be deported because of that. But I mean like theft that would like impede or like harm someone, right? That's what I mean. So if they committed a violent crime or bad crime, I think they should be deported under my ideal worldview. Only deported if they will be put in prison in their own country because I don't think they should be free. And if they're not, keep them in our prison. But other than that, I think we should offer them mass amnesty, so that way the ones that don't come out, we can go after, right? Because they're most likely they're not going to be a violent criminal, and I
Okay.
think it's going to be a more helpful use of our resources. And I think it's going to benefit the economy. It's going to benefit the immigrants. It's going to benefit people like you and me, offer more jobs and things like that. I think mass
Okay.
amnesty is the way to go.
In the abstract, I agree with you. However, that's not our immigration law now, right? So, and that's
But
I
if it
mean,
could be, would you? If it could be, it came to 2028, and it was like a progressive Democrat who was advocating for this, and it was perfect, right? How I just said that they're gonna put people in prison if they commit any violent crime or bad crime, and then we're gonna get all the benefits from amnesty, and so are the immigrants. Would you vote for that in 2028?
yeah, but I would have to try to figure out what the problem would be with the new people that are coming in. So what happens
Yeah, I
is
can.
we'd have to have a limit
Of
on how many
course.
people could actually come in. But yeah, in general
And
terms,
also,
yes, I think
I can even make it better for Republicans. We can have these undocumented immigrants. I mean, once they're citizens or residents, we can have them pay a certain like amount of taxes for like 7 years. And that way, that revenue that guarantees more money into our economy, and we can put that on social safety nets. That's an even that's a bigger plus, right? Because obviously these now citizens are going to be getting paid more because they're not getting paid around the table, right? So that's one thing. And then another thing to answer your question, we're going to fix the legal process by hiring more immigration courts. Funding more immigration courts and hiring more immigration judges to incentivize legal migration compared to illegal migration, right? So we're going to fix the process, and then the people that are already here, we're going to have them become citizens, benefit our economy, benefit themselves, and dramatically benefit every single person in America. The
Yeah, I
average
mean
American, at least.
that type of reform I would be with, right? But I really came and I want to ask you this question because I
Right.
watch you and you're pretty sharp, right? All of the conversations that I'm having with the left, right? It's all coming back to him being a creep, right?
Sure, we can get into that. Sure, take it away. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so here's the thing. So in the 3.5 million documents that were released, right,
Mhm.
with the Epstein files, his name got mentioned 38,000 times, right? You know what I mean? And
That we know of, according to a
right.
congressman.
Well, I'm not talking about the
Right,
redacted one, so I'll get
right.
to that point.
Sure,
So
sure.
what happens is that there was a singular allegation made against him, right? It wasn't corroborated, right? So if it wasn't corroborated, it will not hold up in court. That's just how it works, right?
Okay.
So there was no charge, going to be brought by that, right? So now,
Right.
if there's other evidence, in the 3 million redacted files, right? You know what I mean, that the Department of Justice has access to, right?
Mhm.
Why would anybody protect him, right? If they know that this man is a creep, why would they protect him? Why would they risk their political careers to back a lame duck president? Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're talking top level shit. We're talking about all of the DOJ, most of the Republican Party, right? You know what I mean? It would
Yeah.
absolutely bury that party. Why would they go into this movie like conspiracy to try to protect him if he is a creep?
I can
So,
answer that
so
actually.
yeah, Gavin, you go ahead, and then because this is like a very deep conversation, a lot of points. I want to take it to something about so yeah, go ahead, take it away. But first off, guys, let's try to get the likes up. That lets more people in here, so we can have more conversations like Brooklyn, or with Brooklyn. So make sure to double tap that phone screen and then show some love to Gavin. What are we doing? This is a community where we show some love to everyone. Say what's up in the comment section. I'll say what's up to you guys. But yeah, that was a loaded question. I'm gonna take notes. So Gavin, you can answer it, and then I can answer it after, so I can remember. Go ahead.
So, currently, as we see it standing, the entire Republican Party basically controls America. They're doing their best to hold on to whatever little party they have and whatever little power they have in every state, right? Now, with the whole thing of Trump being in office and him being seen as basically the second coming of Jesus to most Republicans and conservatives at this point, we see that it's very easy to be buddy-buddy with him and get political power, right? For instance, we have Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth. They have zero reason to be in the position that they're in. They have no good qualities to be in the positions that they're in. They're basically the DEI hires that all the right was DUI hires that the right was complaining about, right? So we have people who have spoken up about it in the Republican Party, such as much as I hate her and I have to praise her for this, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has been ostracized and told that she's a traitor because she has spoken up about the Ep files and everything that's been going on with him and what Trump has been doing to hide the Ep files. And we see that not only is he such a powerful dictator that people grift off him to get political power, he can just easily just wipe them out from their political party. Just basically Harvey Weinstein them. They can't do anything about it because the second you talk bad about Trump, you're kicked out of your party, you're slandered, and no one ever wants to be involved with you ever fucking again. We've seen that many, many times. We've seen that even with his own vice president, Mike Pence, where he spoke up against what Trump did, especially at January 6th.
They literally
and
called for his hanging.
Literally, the
Quite
crowd
literally
called for his
death.
hanging.
Right, literally. So
The
that's
Republicans
go for it.
called for his unaliving.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's hiding this. He controls the masses. He controls the party. He controls everybody. Not like in some grand conspiracy way, but in a political way. Not in some the Jews run the world kind of way. But he literally holds all the power because he holds all the influence and the public appeal. That's why.
I mean, I
Feel
have
free,
to just
feel free to respond.
he is a lame duck, right? He fired Pam Bondi, right, unceremoniously, right? Why didn't Pam Bondi speak up? I heard the speech of the green woman, right? I heard what she said. And what she did was she actually signed the petition to be able to get enough votes to be able to force them to release the files, right? You know what I mean?
They're violating 4 federal laws, right?
Okay. Well, what happened was they needed a petition. They needed a certain amount of signatures, and she was the tipping point, right? So what happened was that she claims that Trump pulled her into the side and said, "Stop doing this." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Stop.
that's what she claimed,
and then she refused to do it, right? However, she'll survive because she did that, right? You know what I mean? Because she's like, wait a minute, you know, if you didn't do anything, let's get ahead and release them, right? So anyways, they gave out the 3.5 million documents, right? Because of that, the other 3 million documents, right, are redacted to protect attorney-client
Well,
privilege.
the other 3 million aren't even
victims.
released. They're not released to the public. The other 3 million, which is against the law. But definitely, I think the 3 million that have already been released are heavily redacted. Just to add on to what Gavin was saying, or at least a different perspective, my perspective that I wanted to like dive into is going to be something more of like what based on like history and based on like events throughout the world. I mean, we can take a look at Hungary, right, with Viktor Orban. I think Donald Trump is leading us into what people call an illiberal democracy, which is a form of democracy, and there's elections, but it's heavily influenced or skewed, right? I think that's where Donald Trump is leading us, not necessarily fascism. I think he's definitely going to try to run for a third term, some way, shape, or form, but it's going to seem like that people can still vote for him, right? That's a possibility, and I think that these people want to be for his side because he knows that he's going to attempt to do that, and they don't, like Gavin said, they don't want to get on his bad side because then their political careers will be over. They'll call for their death, like Mike Pence. I mean, people are learning from what happened to Mike Pence, right? That's another point of view to look at it. But I think it doesn't matter what other people do. I think the point is here that the Trump administration is actively hiding files. They're actively violating federal law to not release certain files and protect P3DOs, right? And then you ask, well, why do we think that he's a bad person? Why do we think that he's a sexual exploiter? Well, yeah, because it's about other evidence, not necessarily the Epstein files. You made a couple points here. The saying that there was no corroborating evidence. Well, there's a credible accuser that was deemed credible by the first Trump administration that said Trump raped her, right? They won a lawsuit or they settled with the Epstein estate, won millions of dollars. The same credible accuser, again deemed credible by the first Trump admin, accused Donald Trump of child rape in confidence with the FBI.
Are you talking about the one that he sued for libel and lost?
No. This is Jane Doe that we don't know her name, but this individual sued the Epstein estate, alleging child rape. She won a settlement of millions of dollars, and that person was deemed credible by the first Trump admin, Trump Pence, and then that same credible accuser that won millions of dollars in a settlement accused Trump of child rape, right? So if you believe that victim, if you believe that victim when she says she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, then you should also believe her when she says that she was raped by Trump.
So why wasn't there any charges brought?
Because he controls it. That's
precisely
literally why.
The president has limited powers.
Also,
I mean, you
because there's a bunch of
you
powerful
guys seem
people.
pretty smart. Hold on, you guys seem pretty smart, right? But the president has limited powers. You mean to tell me that he is gonna use his influence as he's
Absolutely.
No.
Hold on, Brooklyn. I want to let you know. Let me let you know something, Ari, real quick. When the initial Epstein investigation was happening in Biden's administration, all the Republicans ask, well, why didn't Biden release them? Why didn't Biden release them? Because at the time, the DOJ was completely independent. They didn't have a political party. They weren't controlled by the president. The people that were in the DOJ weren't installed by the president. However, in this case, almost everybody was installed by President Trump, including Pam Bondi. He hand-selected everybody because he knew, all right, these are my underlings. They're going to do everything to protect me. Otherwise, they know the consequences. So, where you're saying, oh, the president has limited power, not this one. He's literally leading. Hold on, I'm not done. He's leading literally in the exact way as Pol Pot's did, except he's not unaliving people who wear glasses. What Trump is doing currently is literally holding dictatorship power by having everyone in his pocket. This isn't a grand conspiracy. This isn't some kind of high fucking fictional story that's going to be told in the future. This is genuinely what is happening and what is being observed in the current political climate.
That's also why I brought up illiberal democracies, right? He's undermining checks and balances. I mean, some people are calling him like a fascist. Like, to be a fascist, you have to have like complete like authority, right? Or you have complete power. That's why I said like he's leading us towards like illiberal democracy. Feel free to
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Go for it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Why would Pam Bondi, who was fired by Trump and is now going into the private sector, what does she have to gain or lose by outing Trump?
Her life, whatever little chance she has at going into politics again in the future.
No, she's not. She's going into the public sector. She's done with politics. She's going back to the public sector.
She still has a chance because she's not talking shit about Trump, just like Marjorie Taylor Greene did.
Listen to what I'm saying. This. He put her in a place, and then he took her job. Right now, she's getting out of politics and going back into the private sector. So she has no.
That doesn't prove anything. That doesn't prove anything. It is still. The point that you wanted to talk about is that whether Donald Trump is a sexual abuser or that he raped someone, right? That those are all facts, right? The credible accuser, again, that accused Donald Trump of child rape, again, it could be because, again, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein in the early 2000s got a slap on the wrist, right? It's not just Trump, it's not just this administration, it's not just like this FBI, right? Because there's powerful people in here. There's powerful people, famous people that are allegedly did this stuff, right? So I can agree, Democrats, Republicans are there, and if it turns out to be the case that Biden was trying to protect Democrats, I would hope that he gets held accountable for that. Because it doesn't matter who it is. I think they should be held accountable for that. It's not just the Trump admin, who I think Trump is like definitely doing it at a greater extent. Yeah, he's violating 4 federal laws. Harris would have complied with the law.
Well, we don't know that
Congress passed. Well, there's no evidence to prove otherwise, right? I mean, Harris wasn't mentioned in the files. Trump was.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems incredulous to me, right? That
we have all the evidence and context clues to all this. So that's the thing.
No. What you have is a bunch of accusations coming.
How about we talk about something that's not an accusation? He raped someone.
I mean, if that's the case, they would have charged him. I don't believe
They did. He was held liable. You have to pay tens of millions of dollars.
Well, no. Okay, no, hold on. That case, she never accused Trump. She wrote a book years later.
She wrote a book accusing him of rape.
She wrote a book years later and still didn't accuse him, right? He took on the idea. He took on the idea that she was alluding that it was him. He sued her for defamation, right? So when he's the one that raised the suit, and the judge said, well, the judge told her side, well, you're going to have to prove, right? If you're going to claim defamation, you're going to have to prove that this event happened. Now, who knows what happened in that courtroom? That could have been a left-leaning courtroom, right? So what happens is
it was a public hearing. Like,
hold on, right. All right, but here's the thing. Civil cases are based on a preponderance of evidence rather than beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
But saying that it could have been left-leaning isn't reasonable doubt. Any jury could be left-leaning or right-leaning. This is so. Are you saying like O.J. Simpson didn't commit the crime that he was held liable for? Right.
You know what?
My point is, it's not reasonable doubt to believe that, right?
Well, no. But here's the thing: the marker that has to be met is a preponderance of evidence, not
for a civil court.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was held civilly liable. Yes,
right, civilly liable through a preponderance of evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt. So
right. Yeah. Exactly.
What happened? So okay, but they were talking about defamation and the case in its entirety. So it could have certainly been.
But the jury ruled that he sexually abused her. Have you seen the jury verdict form?
No, I know that it's true.
Brooklyn, that's another great thing that you're not realizing. He was put in a trial among his peers, the public. It was, I think the minimum for a jury is 12 people, right? That means 12 people, no matter what their political affiliation was, no matter what they believed of Trump, even after his presidency, said, yeah, he did this. They all have to come to an agreement that he did this. This is the most important man in the political world right now. Not just
was
America.
Was this a judge trial or jury trial?
Jury.
You notice for fact?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jury trial.
Jury determined this, yes.
Usually, libel cases don't go in front of a jury. 9 out of 10 times, it's a judge trial. But I'll do the research and look at that, right? You know what I mean? Here's the thing: I'm having a problem, right? Wondering if this man is actually a creep, right? And so,
have you heard about the Howard Stern clip? You say you go
yeah,
around.
I know all of those blurbs. I don't really give a lot of credibility to those blurbs because one thing Trump is a fucking idiot. He says some of the most. I'm sorry for that word. I apologize.
Oh, to clarify, there was two sets of anonymous juries who did this case in 2023 and 2024. So that means two groups of 12 people of bakers.
Because he slurred. I do have to disconnect you because TikTok's gonna like.
I apologize.
Yeah, there it is. No, yeah.